heavy weight you've been trying to hold on to, but you can lay it all down with me, 'cause in the end I'm just trying to show you you don't need more pain than misery. And baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. Yeah, baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. 'Cause me and you, we got a good thing going. Don't cast it off. Just let this love keep showing. Yeah. Ooh. You say you're tired and you're growing weary. I'm here to give you everything you need. Your heartaches and pain will all heal with time, girl. Your love is mine if we plant the seed. And baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love. Yeah, baby, 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 you gotta hold on to what we got and give me, give me, give me all of your love, all of your love.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 7th annual and first, but hopefully last, virtual pitch event for the Norman Esch Entrepreneurship Awards in Capstone Design. I am Mary Wells, the Dean of this wonderful Faculty of Engineering, and it's my pleasure to be here today for this exciting event, which culminates 8 months of project work in extraordinarily difficult times. In a few minutes, you'll watch 10 of our remarkable Capstone design teams pitch their inventive projects and services for the opportunity to win more than $60,000. These awards are generously being provided by the Esch Foundation that was established in November 2004 by Norman Esch to support creative and entrepreneurial students in the pursuit of research and its commercialization for the benefit of Canada. Mr. Esch was a consummate entrepreneur. After serving with the Navy during the Second World War, he invested $5,000, his entire savings, and bootstrapped his own company. The founder of Graphic Lithoplate, the owner of Rototone Gravure, and many other related companies, he was a highly regarded business leader and a driving force behind the printing industry in Toronto. Mr. Esch died in 2010 at the age of 92, but his legacy lives on through his foundation. It's my pleasure to welcome the Esch Foundation trustees who are watching with us today and who I had the pleasure to meet earlier today. David Esch, Larry Barrett, Ross McGovern, and Jim Sharples. Thank you so much for your tremendous support of Waterloo Engineering and for being here this afternoon. We've also brought back our popular People's Choice Award. This means everyone watching today may cast their vote for their favorite project. The People's Choice is named in honor of former Dean of Engineering Adel Sedra. Adel, who served as Dean of Waterloo Engineering from July 1st, 2003 to June 30th, 2012, is one of the world's leading electrical engineers and a highly respected engineering educator who specializes in microelectronics. While Dean, Adel spearheaded two visionary academic plans that included several new world-class research centers and buildings for our students, including Engineering 5. And thanks to Adel, we also have the Student Design Center that was named the Sedra Student Design Center in his honor in 2013. It's now my pleasure to welcome our MC, Mr. Matt Stevens. Matt graduated with both his Bachelor of Applied Science and PhD in Chemical Engineering from Waterloo Engineering, was a member and team leader of our University Alternative Fuels team, and today is an entrepreneur whose incredible success story started right here in Waterloo Engineering. Like many of you here today, Matt, while he was a student, identified a gap in the marketplace and came up with an innovative idea to fill it. Along with fellow classmate Christopher Mendez, Matt saw a need to simplify the confusing realm of emerging automotive technologies. So together, Matt and Christopher created Crosschasm Technologies Inc., which was better known as Fleet Karma. The team grew Fleet Karma into the global leader for electrical vehicle telematics and was acquired by Geotab, another Canadian tech company, in 2018. Matt served as VP of Electric Vehicles and was responsible for the EV file within Geotab globally. In 2021, Matt moved from his role as VP and joined the board of advisors. With his Waterloo Engineering capstone design and entrepreneurial background, I'm so pleased and thrilled that Matt is with us again today to MC this event. Please join me in welcoming Matt Stevens.
Thanks so much, Dean Wells. I really appreciate that really warm and kind intro, and it really is a pleasure to be here today. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but I really do think that there's not a better university in the world to be an entrepreneur out of. And really, when you think of Waterloo and why, and the experience I had going through that, to start a company, you need to be smart, you need to be gritty, and you need to be naive enough that you're okay doing something where most people fail. So if you start a company, the odds are you've got a 1 in 10 chance of making it. So you have to be okay being like, okay, I think I can be that 1 in 10. And it really is, not an easy path, but I think Waterloo sets you up uniquely well. Because the best time, in my view, to start a company is right out of school, because those first couple of years are very, 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 very lean. And as a student, you are very used to having no money. And so it's a great time to start, but you don't necessarily have the experience or the know-how. And that's where I think Waterloo, between the strong academic program, but the co-op experience you get and the student teams and the capstone projects like this one supported by the Esch Foundation, are so pivotal, are so critical, because you have people show up where you do have enough experience, you do have enough know-how, you do have enough ability to start a company, which is really fantastic. So really, absolutely my pleasure to be here and to be part of this great event. So now down to business. So here are the rules for today's competition. The teams are competing for 6 prizes of $10,000. So thank you so much, Esch Foundation, for making this possible. I would have loved it if it was around what I was going through. Plus the People's Choice Award, valued at an additional $3,000. Each team will pitch their project as if they were presenting to potential investors. After the pitch, the team members and the judges will be brought live onto the screen for a Q&A session. Speaking of judges, they've been asked to view the project as if they were investing their own money. Make sense? If the students are pitching to investors, They should act like they were investors putting in their own cheese. So it'll mean some pretty intense scrutiny. And audience, here's how you get involved. After the last pitch, and while the judges are deliberating, a link will be posted in the chat. Please visit the link to vote for your favorite team. As Dean Wells mentioned, the winner, as voted by you, will win the Sedra People's Choice Award, valued at $3,000. And believe me, you can take $3,000 a long way. When Chris and I started the company, we lasted the first year on $2,000 loan and credit cards. So you can do a lot with $3,000. It's now my pleasure to introduce the judges for this event, two of whom are faculty, and joining them is a notable alumnus. The judges were handpicked for today's judging panel because of their specific expertise. So first up is Dr. Patricia Nieva. She's a professor in the Department of Mechanical and Mechatronics Engineering and is the director of Sensors and Integrated Microsystems Lab, the SIMS Lab. She's an expert on microsensors, nanosensors, and intelligent sensor system solutions for real-time parameter monitoring. Patricia has led extensive research in the areas of point-of-care handheld devices and smart automotive sensors. These projects include, and one of them is very near and dear to my heart, embedded sensors for inline performance monitoring of lithium-ion battery cells for electric vehicles, and highly sensitive fiber optic-based salivary sensors for hormone panel testing. Another cool project she's contributed to is a handheld cardiac monitor that measures the concentration of proteins in blood commonly linked to heart attack to alert a patient's doctor before symptoms actually appear. Currently, she is leading the development of intelligent Bluetooth-based wearables that combine advanced sensing technologies with AI to enable COVID-19 digital contact tracing and continuous some pretty important stuff. We're thrilled to have Professor Nieva bring her experience to the panel. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we have Doug Sparks. Dr. Doug Sparks has had over 30 years of experience in academia, consulting, government, and industry. He is one of the founding members of the University of Waterloo's Conrad School of Entrepreneurship and Business, which is part of the Faculty of Engineering, and provides entrepreneurship education and support across all faculties. He has been responsible for the initial development of the school's undergraduate education programs, as well as being involved in programs and competitions focused on fostering entrepreneurship. Doug is an electrical engineer, an entrepreneur who has been involved in several technology startups, in addition to his own company in the Ottawa and Waterloo regions. He's worked for the NRC and Stelco. He's a member of the Professional Engineers of Ontario and the IEEE, and is active in local minor sports. Welcome, Doug. Next, we have Ivan Yuen. He's the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of Wattpad. Hopefully most of you have heard of Wattpad. They're a pretty phenomenal company. And he focuses on strategic partnerships that align Wattpad's global business strategy and technology innovations to drive user growth around the world. Wattpad, of course, connects a global community of millions of readers and writers through the power of story. Prior to Wattpad, Ivan co-founded FeedMate and served as the company's CTO. And I'm hoping, Ivan, I'll ask you if I pronounce that correct, but hopefully I got it right.
Yep.
Perfect. He founded FeedMate. Sorry, I looked up and I lost my spot. And served as the company's CTO. Before that, he was one of the first employees of Tiro Wireless, where he helped grow the technical team and develop new and emerging wireless technologies. Ivan graduated from the University of Waterloo with a degree in Comp Eng and earned an MBA from Rotman School of Management. Welcome, Ivan.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much, judges, for being here. We know that the caliber of these teams is extremely high, and I'm pretty confident you're going to have a tough time figuring out who's going to get the money, but I know you'll be able to do it. Like so many things over last year, this event had to move to a virtual format for the first time. I am not used to being up in my garage and seeing an event. First time, so hopefully it goes well. If not, hopefully it's a disaster and you all get to enjoy the experience of what a disaster it is. So hopefully in either case, it'll be entertaining. But we have a huge audience in the E7 event space normally, with people watching from all over the balconies. Really is a phenomenal venue when we can meet in person. We always have great food for the audience, and the room is filled with the smell of 150 pizzas and freshly baked cookies. It's a pretty unique combination, but it's delicious. Despite the circumstances being different this year, I really hope you show your support for these amazing teams. They have put countless nights, hours, and if my experience in undergrad was anything like it, there's a little bit of blood involved if they cut themselves here and there. So please show your support and show your love and comment on in the comment here and also on social media. You can use the hashtag UW Capstone, to keep you on your toes, audience. I'll be asking some questions about entrepreneurship and inventions as we go. So please, stay tuned and put your answers in the comments as we go. Play along, and we'll choose one lucky engaged audience member to win a prize. We are incentivizing you to be engaged on top of seeing an awesome group of student teams. Let's start with an easy one. Where are y'all from? So please take the chance to put your answers in the comment chat. I personally am buried in the back of a forest just west of Waterloo, close to Baden, for anyone who knows where that is. So we'll see those come in for a second. Later, I want to let you know that while the judges are deliberating, you will have a chance to win an Xbox with great thanks to our friends over at Microsoft who donated that. So more details about that to come. But for the moment, stay tuned. So let's see where some folks are calling in from. Wow, we have Tajikistan, we have Picton, Ontario, we have London. Don't know if that's Ontario or England. Probably Ontario. Got some really impressive former Barbados. We got Waterdown. We got Waterloo, Montreal. This is great. We got a whole lot of folks joining from all around. That's great. Perfect. So let's jump into it. Now it's time to hear from the Capstone Design Team finalists who will present in random order. The first team to pitch to you today is Canadian Ibex.
Hello, we are Canadian Ibex, and we seek to make rock climbing a safer sport. Thanks for having us at the Norman Esch competition, and here is the presentation of our reusable fall-breaking device. We are a team of 8-stream mechanical students who enjoy spending time outdoors and love rock climbing, and we're excited to help others do so as well. During outdoor climbing, protective anchors are placed into features in the rock to catch the climber in the case of a fall, as shown on the left. During large falls, the high forces may cause anchoring equipment to be pulled out of the rock due to a variety of factors, including weak rock, improper placement, or bad luck. When gear pulls out, the climber can suffer extreme or fatal injuries. The current solutions to this are shock packs, as shown on the right, which are disposable, single-use solutions that absorb energy by tearing. The veteran climbers we interviewed singled this out as one of the biggest pain points facing rock climbers today. This problem persists inside the ever-growing rock climbing market. $1.4 billion were spent on rock climbing gear in 2020, and the industry is expected to see a 9.6 annual growth rate over the next few years. 9.4 million people climbed in the US in 2019, and that number is expected to increase with publicity provided by the appearance of rock climbing at the upcoming Japan Olympics. The disposable single-use shock packs are also used in the working at heights industry, which is worth $2.7 billion per year. With proper investment, this represents a huge growth opportunity for our reusable fall-breaking device. The Canadian Ibex fall-breaking device operates on a robust cone brake design, which absorbs energy from the fall using a frictional brake. We have successfully fabricated a prototype, which was tested, validated, and allowed us to iterate to the next generation design. During testing, our device resulted in a 30% reduction in peak force on the climbing gear, which is in line with the single-use competition. At large falls, this can be the difference between spinal cord issues and simply walking it off. Here, you can see 2 of the tests performed. The fall on the left has no device, and this results in rough bouncing at the end of the fall. In contrast, the right fall, with our device, has a much smoother landing, as the frictional brake absorbs energy and extends the time of the fall. Current revenue modeling suggests licensing the design to existing climbing gear brands. Alternatively, the device could be sold through online and brick-and-mortar stores. This is a model rock climbers are familiar with, who are no strangers to paying good money for high-quality gear. Many climbing devices cost in the range of $100 to $200, which nicely accommodates our $60 target. The next steps for Canadian Ibex are to continue chasing a patent, invest into certification for the working at heights industry, and to manufacture the second-generation design. Thank you very much. Are there any questions about our product?
All right, perfect. Thanks, Christopher. That was great. My spouse is a physiotherapist, and I know number of people that she sees from falling and working at heights. So I can appreciate the need for this. So looking over at the judges, is there anyone that would like to jump in with a question? Ivan, maybe could I flip it over to you and then
I'll jump in first. Yeah, great presentation. I'm not a rock climber myself, so please forgive my ignorance. But how frequently are shock packs used and replaced? I mean, I understand they're normally single use, but are they going through dozens of these a climb, or is it like once a year? Or what is the frequency of replacement?
Great question. Yeah, I just want to say thanks to all the judges for volunteering their time for this event today. We really appreciate it. So shock packs are typically used once or twice during a season, only really used for situations where falls are expected to cause a lot of damage. And Daniel, our expert rock climbing enthusiast here, has some experience with those devices.
Yeah, so in the rock climbing situations, they are a niche item right now. So within ice climbing, they will become more frequent since gear is placed less frequently there. And the consequences of falling will therefore be a lot more dire. You know, you're taking bigger falls. But we think within the working at heights industry, there's a lot more potential since basically anyone who's going up to altitude will be using a shock pack somewhere in the system because falls there are a lot more severe due to the rigid nature of their systems.
So great presentation. I enjoyed seeing all your testing and things like that. So regarding the testing, have you compared when you're talking about that this current device is giving you more or less the same usability or characteristics than the actual shock pads, but I don't see the testing being done compare one-to-one because you have no device and your device. Have you been able to do testing from your device to the shock pads on somehow or a simulation or some sort in order to be able to really say that you have a comparable device?
Yeah. So great question. Thank you. We did create a mathematical model to predict the forces that exist during these falls. And we modeled the fall with and without the device. We were also able to compare directly with the competitor devices since they have published data. So by looking at similar fall circumstances, we can compare directly that way. Justin, you had something to add?
Yeah, so we planned on actually directly comparing our device with the existing market solutions, those shock packs. But due to the limitations of COVID, we're unable to get the actual devices in time for our testing.
Okay, so what is the main reason the people that that climb or use these devices, are considering this a pain point? Is that cost mostly?
Yeah, exactly. If the current devices you throw out after you use, so if you're looking at something that's $30 every time it potentially saves your life, you might be more inclined to just take a risk instead. Whereas our device is reusable. So it has the benefit of you're more likely to use a safety device that you don't have to throw away after its activation.
Okay, can I ask one more question? Is it still okay? Okay, so talking about that, if I were a rock climber, right, and I have to pay $30 every time in order to buy a shock device, I will pay it, and I will be very happy to throw it away after it saved me, right? And so $30, $20 might not necessarily be a big deal, but I have a concern about reusability. I mean, the price point that you are putting, however, is excellent. I think it is a very good price, and I think that is very commercial. But why reusability? Like, I would be scared to reuse something that is, in fact, cheaper than the other alternative, and is giving me the same quality. So I still quite not understand why the reusability.
Yeah, I think Peter, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Reusability is a key function because with the single-use devices, if you take a small fall that wouldn't necessarily hurt you, you'd still waste that $30 device on that small fall, right? So by making it reusable, we allow our customers to actually be more willing to buy this device and place it as protection and not take unnecessary risks. We do have confidence in the reusability of this, up to at least 500 rotations, and our specification was only for 10 reuses. So we would require a bit more validation, but even with our prototype, we have had very repeatable results, and we have confidence in it.
Yeah. So what steps have you taken towards certification of this device because of the safety concerns mainly?
So far, we haven't taken any explicit steps towards formal certification, mostly because this was our fourth-year design project, and we haven't gotten to that point. We hope to pursue that in the future. We require funding for that to do more testing. Justin might have something to add to this. He led our verification.
Yeah, so we've looked extensively into the CSA guidelines as to for reusable fall break, or not reusable, but for fall breaking devices. And we planned with our project to go into that knowing those specifications needed to be met. And our device will, if we decide to pursue that for our next generation device.
Perfect. So yeah, so with that, let's see with that. And Peter, that was a nice slide in there with a bit of money. We could do some good stuff. So well done. So thanks a lot, Team Canadian Ibex. Next up, we will go to Scribenote, but I'm going to ask a question first. So if you can put your answers in during the presentation, obviously put full focus on the pitch, but could throw a quick note in the chat. We're obviously lucky to have immense conveniences at this age, including heat, hydro, cars, phones. But if in addition to those four, what is an invention that you absolutely could not live without? So please throw that in the comments while we listen to the pitch from Scribenote.
Hi, we're Scribenote. Doctors are among the most highly trained, expensive professionals in the workforce. You might find it insane then that these experts spend more than 2 hours a day writing documentation. These poorly allocated hours come with great costs. The minimum opportunity cost of writing medical documentation is $150 per day, and that's just the cost to the individual provider. From a system level, the costs are in the billions. Medical documentation is burning doctors out and keeping them doing busy work instead of being with patients, which drives up wait times. Scribenote is going to solve this problem by cutting the time spent on documentation down to zero. Fixing medical documentation is an ambitious goal, but we at Scribenote have a strong plan to start. We have chosen veterinarian doctors as our beachhead market since it has far less red tape while still having similar documentation requirements. Our broader market will expand to include human doctors, where the costs of documentation are even greater and the market is 10 times larger. Here's how we do it. First, we record the doctor-patient consultation. All a doctor must do is click record at the start of their appointment, carry on their appointment as usual, and then click stop. The audio is then stored in compliance with healthcare regulations, and then transcribed using automatic speech recognition. Scribenote employees then classify the clinically relevant data. Our scribes can do this three times faster than in-clinic, thanks to our custom tools. Finally, the key clinical data forms a new medical record. And from those original 2 clicks, doctors get beautiful, complete notes without even thinking about it. Why is this so much better than the status quo? Well, pen and paper is cheap, but it's hard to organize. Typing into electronic medical records or dictating notes requires hours of focus. Hiring a medical scribe to follow you around writing notes will save time, but then you're paying a full salary. Scribenote is far better because it's instant, affordable, and effortless. Scribenote will cost just under $25 per day. This is 6 times cheaper than existing alternatives. We've made so much progress that we already have a paying beta customer and 5 letters of intent signed for our launch in May. Our team has spent the past 3 years becoming experts in healthcare software, winning the problem pitch competition and talking to hundreds of clinicians. Together, we will solve the medical documentation problem, unlocking billions in economic savings while reducing doctor burnout and patient wait times. We have a paid beta and have 5 LOIs. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Scribenote. Okay. Looking over at the judges for some tough questions.
So maybe while the judges think of their first question, I'll ask one. Specifically, you talked about dictation requiring too much focus. Do you mean like the focus of the physician, of her focus as she's trying to treat the patient?
Yeah, absolutely. So not necessarily during the appointment, but dictation requires a lot of focus because the clinician will actually have to be looking at their electronic medical record, saying for the subjective data of the appointment, I want to say this. For the objective data, I want to say this. They essentially, they're doing the same thing that they would be to document with just typing, but they're using their voice instead of typing. So with Scribenote, they don't have to focus on documentation at all. They just click record at the start of their appointment, carry on the appointment as usual, and then click stop, and they don't even have to think about it.
Gotcha. So it's far more of like an ambient compute model.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Doug, I think you had a question there. I think you'd raised your hand.
Yeah, just check that I'm not muted here. Yeah, good presentation. I had one quick question. You said you had a beta customer right now. Is that an actual doctor? Who's using it right now, without giving the name?
Yeah, so right now we're actually in a clinic. So the beta user is one of our family vets.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're paying us a reduced price for the beta. So we're launching at $500 per month, but through beta we've actually been paid $250 per month as we lock down core value and really drive the product to launch readiness.
Okay, and what kind of feedback are you getting from that user?
It's been really great. So we're learning a lot, and they obviously we're nanotech engineering students, so we're building the features that they ask for, right? They're the people using this every day. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback, things like small feature requests, like style things, and as sort of like the smaller level things. Bug fixes, a lot of that has come through our beta. And then some of the bigger stuff is like product roadmap type requests. So one of the ones we're most proud of, one of our users asked us, they said they're spending too much time navigating between patients for the appointments. So originally we had functionality so that you had to record at a patient's page, and they wanted something that they could just click on right away and start recording, regardless of navigation. And so we delivered that feature within actually 1 day, and their mind was blown. All they had to do was 2 clicks, and that was it.
Okay. And before you started the beta, did you have much of a chance to talk to other doctors about what kind of issues they run into when they're doing their notes?
Yeah, so I've actually been working on healthcare technology startups for the past 2.5 years. So one of the things that early on we did was win the problem pitch competition, and that funding allowed us to spend a lot of time talking to hundreds of clinicians. So we've talked to like hundreds of clinicians, doctors, veterinarians, nurses about their documentation burdens, and we've learned a lot through that process.
Okay. I'll hand it off to the other judges there.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Hopefully, great presentation, by the way, and great tone of voice and enthusiasm. I have a little question on privacy issues, right? Right now, you are saying that you are talking to veterinarians and our dogs and cats and so on. They don't necessarily have to tell us that they're okay recording, but would real persons will have a problem in a consultory like that, and how would you deal with that?
Yeah, so regardless of if we're dealing with animal medical data or human medical data, we still are really focused on the privacy aspect of the application. So right now in the vet space, we have to comply with the regulations set out by the College of Veterinarians in Ontario, and every province and state has slightly different flavors of regulation regarding privacy. When we get to human medicine, we have to comply with HIPAA. But while we're in vet medicine, we just have to comply with PIPEDA, which is essentially the privacy regulation that governs all data safety in Canada. And so there's 3 main components to this to make sure we're doing everything right from the patient's perspective. Number 1 is consent. So we can't record a clinical conversation without the patient or the patient's owner, in the case of the vet market, consenting to that recording. The second component to consent is the sharing of that medical information beyond the scope of the provider. And so that's a fairly solved problem because medical scribes have existed in clinic for a long time. So it's not just like the scribes is a new concept. People have been writing documentation by following doctors around for a long time. This is a different spin on that approach because we're doing it with custom scribe tools and there's not like a 1-to-1 ratio. But that the consent piece is really important. The second piece is safeguards. So we need to make sure that all data is encrypted and no unauthorized access is permitted. And that's something that all privacy focused companies need to do. And the final component to this is safeguards in the case of a breach. So if any patient data was ever leaked, or actually any private information ever, any company needs to have strong protocols in place for disclosing what sensitive information was revealed with any parties who it affected. So there's 3 key things that we're focused on, and this applies in all markets.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. I'm going to have to ask that we hold it there. Thank you very much. That was a great presentation, Scribenote. Moving on to the next team. So the next team is optimization of hyaluronic acid production. In the meantime, your question to throw into the chat as you go, it's more of a fun one, not to do with innovations, but specifically, what is your absolute favorite dessert? So with that, we will go to team 3 for hyaluronic acid. Over to the team.
Have you ever questioned what ingredients are in the products you put on your skin? How about where they come from or how they're made? Hyaluronic acid is an important natural occurring polymer with a range of applications in the biomedical and cosmetic industry, such as its use in eye surgery, moisturizers, and treatment for osteoarthritis. It has been traditionally extracted from rooster combs and pathogenic microorganisms. Currently, the use of Streptococcus pseudoepidemicus fermentation is employed to avoid the use of animal derivatives. However, it is still unsafe due to the possibility of interspecies transmission, since it is a zoonotic pathogen. Our goal is to optimize the process of making hyaluronic acid using engineered microorganisms to create a safer and marketable final product. We aimed to achieve this by selecting an appropriate microorganism and designed an upstream and downstream purification process. Metabolic engineering is a genetic method that alters the natural metabolic pathway of organisms to enhance cellular properties, which can optimize functionality and increase desired metabolite production. From our fermentation simulation, our chosen design uses Lactococcus lactis, a safe-to-use microorganism which has been metabolically engineered to produce hyaluronic acid. Ideally, we would obtain the recombinant organism from a third-party lab prior to starting production. The feasibility of this project was determined based on the projected goal to produce 10% of the annual market demand. Operational and capital costs were calculated for the entire upstream and downstream process, including equipment and utility costs, facility footprint, labor, and material costs. The process flow design is planned to be protected through non-disclosure agreements between anyone who is affiliated with our business. From the total cost calculated, it would cost $31 per gram to make in the first year of operations. The aim for this project is to reach profitability within 3 years, and to attain this, a selling point of $29 per gram was calculated. Although if the desire is to appeal more to customers by selling it at a lower price point of $28 per gram, it would take upwards of 12 years before profit is seen. We believe that customers are willing to pay more for products which are cruelty-free and safely produced. The project aims to be the supplier of hyaluronic acid for beauty product manufacturers. Therefore, it is a business-to-business operation. The product may need to be further processed depending on the specific beauty product standards. Prior to scaling up production of hyaluronic acid, it is imperative that the process be trialed on a smaller scale to highlight key logistical challenges where adjusting is more feasible. It also provides an opportunity for the product to be trialed in the beauty industry before scaling up operations, opening new doors for research and development. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Moving over into the Q&A. Thanks for that presentation. Looking at the judges, does anyone have an immediate question to jump in?
I'll start us off. Thanks for the presentation. I learned quite a few things. You mentioned safety as one of the factors or one of the benefits of your novel process. How big of an issue is this? Has there been cases of cross-contamination or kind of safety-related concerns in the existing production process and market?
I know for the animal-derived, for the medical grade stuff, the product has to be like very high quality and very pure. So there is definitely a lot of focus on in that industry to make sure that there is a reduced interspecies transmission, since for medical purposes it's more, I guess, of a concern as opposed to more so with cosmetic products. It's not as like, especially it's going on the surface of the of your skin sometimes. So it is still a risk, but more so with injections as well, since the animal derivatives are so prevalently used.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thanks. Moving over to the other judges.
Yeah. So, how is this more environmentally friendly, though? I'm not quite sure, because you're still using engineering bioorganisms, right?
So the environmental aspect of it. Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
The environmental aspect of it is more in consideration of the actual process. So we were looking more towards about the impact of producing it. So within the upstream and downstream process, we looked more towards the BOD levels and that type of environmental impact.
I see.
And we tried to meet those environmental regulations in place.
And just to add to that, Amila, in part of our design process, we considered 4 different microorganisms. And in part of our design matrix, one of the constraints we looked at was how much the BOD output was.
I see. Interesting. Thanks.
Perfect. Looking over at Doug. Sorry, Patricia, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, if Doug has a question, I can let him in, and if there is time, I can ask my question. Yes.
Okay, let's stick with you then.
Doug? Oh, he's muted, I think.
Yeah, sorry about that. Got to get that mute thing going. In your presentation, you talked about pricing, but maybe I missed it. But what is the current pricing for this product? Like, if I was going to go out on the market, what would I be paying for a liter of it or whatever?
So when we were looking at costings, we based our 10% market calculation on what we found, what hyaluronic acid was being sold at if not purchased in bulk. And so we took an average price of it derived from rooster combs and streptococcus fermentation. And so that average price was around 680 Canadian dollars per gram, although that was if bought on like a small scale and from like a reputable company who has like large brand power. We did reach out to other suppliers to gauge what a price point would be on to purchase it in bulk. And we had received quotes at estimating around 20 to 30 cents per gram. And so when we performed our cost calculation, there were some things that we weren't able to take into consideration just because we were either didn't hear back from suppliers or were constrained from like the computer simulation. And so definitely having the opportunity to test it in a pilot scale up, we would be able to incorporate recycle streams, which would significantly reduce the amount of material being used each fermentation batch and would help like further reduce some of the costs that we had estimated.
Perfect. Okay, great. I think we're going to have to wrap it up there and we'll move on to the next one. Thanks a lot, team. That was great. So moving on to team 4, which is Thunderscope, who has quite a few supporters in the comments, it looks like.
I'm Alex Bielogrlic, and this is Thunderscope, the start of a new wave of test equipment. Our team's diverse set of skills makes us uniquely capable of realizing our novel architecture. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, test equipment sales exceed $12 billion yearly. The problem with traditional test equipment is it's expensive, clunky, and unfamiliar, and entry-level products compromise performance. Thunderscope will disrupt the market by making test equipment more accessible. By leveraging the processing power of modern devices, we can bring test equipment into the year 2021. Thunderscope offers industry-leading performance in its segment at under half the cost of competing oscilloscopes, and its compact size makes it easy to take wherever you go. To back up our claims, we stacked this up with the best in our segment. Thunderscope has higher maximum bandwidth, memory, and update rate, all at a target retail price of $499. We will be making our initial sales through a crowdfunding campaign, which will allow us to minimize upfront costs to get our product to market faster. We will then move to direct sales as well as selling wholesale to distributors, which will ease purchasing for corporate customers. Educational sales will be made at low margin with direct support to ease the adoption of our products into lab curriculums. Since the software is scalable across any hardware, new products can be rapidly developed and new features sold post-purchase. To spread awareness of our crowdfunding campaign, we will send demo units to be reviewed by content creators that target engineers and hobbyists, and seek to be written up on hardware-focused publications. We also plan to partner with educational institutions to promote learning with our product. We are currently in the process of applying for an Intel development partnership to develop our final prototype with Thunderbolt 3. Our crowdfunding campaign is on track for release on CrowdSupply within the next 6 months, and we have another oscilloscope and a logic analyzer planned for release soon afterwards. Here's a demo of our product in action. Here we have a 2 MHz square wave on channel 1. We're at 500 nanoseconds per division, and we're going to change our horizontal scale down to 100 nanoseconds per division. Now we're going to enable channel 2, which is a 2 MHz sine wave, and we're going to change channel 1 to a sine wave as well. Now we're going to do some math on the waveforms. We can add the two together, and we can subtract them as well. To get a better look at channel 2, we can change its voltage per division setting. And now we're going to turn on all the channels. We have a 10 MHz signal on channel 3 and a 0 voltage on channel 4. And we can enable independent voltage measurement on all 4 channels. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Team Thunderscope. So moving back to the judges. Who would like to jump in first? Patricia, I feel like this might be up your alley. Throw to Ivan, maybe?
I so want. Okay, so this is a great product, by the way. If you really can commercialize it at that price range, 350 megahertz will be such an achievement. I am, however, a little bit confused because when you show the testing, you just show something like 2 megahertz, which is actually easily done by comparable, oscilloscopes that you can buy in Amazon right now. So I'm not quite sure why you didn't demonstrate it at the 350 megahertz bandwidth. And, if you have something to comment about perhaps the, technology that you have used, the analog to digital converter, for example.
For sure. So the reason you didn't see anything too high frequency is, let me show you. This is the test setup we used. There's a function generator there, and that guy can't go too much higher than 20 megahertz. However, in the lab you see in the background over there, I have verified that the front end has a bandwidth of 350 megahertz, which is something we could only afford to in that really low price range by offloading all the processing to the user's PC. So that's how we fit such a high performance product into a price range that is, quite frankly, 1/4 of the competing product.
Right. Okay. So I would love to see this working at 350 megahertz, by the way. Did you know about Bitscope and how similar is what you've done to that?
Oh, so our main difference between a traditional USB oscilloscope and the Thunderscope is that our whole platform is built for flexibility since we stream all the samples to the user's PC. With Thunderscope, you're no longer limited by the set of triggers or measurements that your oscilloscope was shipped with. Instead, you have access to a growing set of features, including our API, which allows for custom triggers and measurements, as well as integration with third-party software, such as MATLAB. This allows you to use Thunderscope to fill the role of more specialized test equipment, while also outperforming oscilloscopes in its class.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Looking over at Ivan or Doug. Any questions from you guys? Nope. Perfect. Okay, so with that, we will round it out. Thanks a lot, Team Thunderscope.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, so next up, we have Team 5. So Team 5 is iMove Technologies. Welcome, iMove.
We're iMove Technologies, and we're developing a modern mobility solution for quadriplegic patients. This is Jared. Jared has muscular dystrophy, a neuromotor disorder which has robbed his ability to control his limbs, leaving him with only his eyes and mouth. Jared has lost 90% of his muscle control in just 2 years of getting diagnosed. This bounds him to a wheelchair and makes him dependent on outdated alternate control technologies for mobility. Now, Jared is just one example of 420,000 North Americans who live with a motor neuron disorder, making mobility independence a widespread problem. Currently, these patients need over $6,000 in extra assisted devices, which contribute to a mobility devices market of $10.8 billion. And since these patients have no hand control, traditional joystick systems are not an option. And existing solutions like sip and puff and head tilt systems are intrusive, expensive, and mechanically complex. Here's where we come in. We built a device which leverages computer vision and machine learning to convert the patient's eye gaze to a target position in the real world. How does this work? If the patient looks at a point, the wheelchair autonomously moves in that direction. This makes our device non-intrusive and touchless and allows intuitive control of the wheelchair. And with our modular design, this device easily integrates with a variety of existing powered wheelchair models through a common mechanical and electrical interface and is adjustable to patients with different height and size. And above all, our system is safe to use with our onboard obstacle detection system to avoid collisions. Our business plan has 3 stages to bring this product to market. For certification, our system is a Class 1 medical device with our 95% exempt from FDA certification. To gain market traction, we will sell pre-assembled kits to clinics, providing us short-term gains that will be reinvested into scaling and optimizing the business. And in the long term, we'll partner with wheelchair manufacturers and license our eye tracking technology for future wheelchair products. By leveraging their established distribution channels, we will increase our product's impact across North America. We have completed a functional prototype and are heavily testing our system to ensure it is safe to use. We are also working on making our eye tracking suite more robust and reliable in harder scenarios, such as nighttime, rainy conditions, and more. We also plan on filing our first provisional patent for our custom eye tracking suite and begin user testing with patients as soon as the pandemic permits. We have an amazing team with expert mentorship in the field, including occupational therapists from Grand River Hospital and the Toronto Rehab Institute. We have also been working with the ALS and Spinal Cord Injury Societies of Canada, as well as with powered wheelchair manufacturers such as Curtiss-Wright and Quantum Rehab. With their feedback, we've been able to optimize our design for patient ease of use and simple integration into different powered wheelchairs. With positive feedback from our partners, we are confident that our add-on mobility product can truly grant independence to quadriplegic patients. We're iMove Technologies, and we're enabling wheelchair mobility at the blink of an eye. Thank you.
Perfect, great. Thanks, Team iMove. Looking at the judges, does anyone have a question to jump in with right now?
I'm happy to go first. I love the presentation. I love seeing it in action. The video demonstration was great. So it seems like you have the prototype working. What's the next hurdle? What's the thing that's needed to get you guys to the next level?
Yeah, for sure. So great question. So we have our functional prototype now, and we've been getting lots of feedback from our partners from Grand River Hospital and rehab institutions. And really, they've been telling us a lot of different edge conditions which they would like the product to work at. For example, people that have like droopy eyelids or wear glasses, our system doesn't work as well right now. So that's something we need to iterate on to improve with an improved gaze tracking model. So yeah, just handling these edge conditions, just making it work in more scenarios is the next steps for this.
From a business front,
we would like to get this in the hands of actual quadriplegic patients as soon as possible. We were planning on doing that earlier this year, but the pandemic restrictions got more intense. So we are looking at October 2021 to begin our user testing.
Yeah, Patricia, over to you.
Thank you. Yes, excellent presentation. I enjoyed seeing the video. So in your commercialization plan, you have a plan for licensing afterwards, right? What exactly are you going to license on this eye tracking suit? What makes this licensable, for example, as compared to somebody that have used PyGaze and PyTorch with some cameras? So yeah, that's my question. Thanks.
Yeah. So what we're marketing is the full end-to-end sensor suite and algorithms that run the actual eye tracking and convert this to wheelchair language in a way. So it's the whole plug-and-play deal. We have targeted several wheelchairs, and we use standardized interfaces to communicate with all of them. So we're in theory able to just grab this.
Code for this.
Pardon?
So this is your own eye tracking suit technology, like you haven't used PyGaze or PyTorch or something like that.
Exactly. We built everything from scratch. We trained it from scratch, and that's what we're really marketing. So we're able to get really good accuracy, upwards of 95% accuracy in terms of the eye tracking and eye recognition. So we believe that is, differentiates us from other potential customers, other potential companies from a technology point of view.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, a quick question about your market size. So the 10.8 billion that you mentioned, that's for all mobility devices, I guess, or is that, I guess, for the technology that you're creating, what's the market for that?
So the 10.8 billion is actually for mobility devices for these type of patients. So for normal patients with quadriplegic conditions or different type of neuromotor disorders. We said that they spend upwards of $6,000 and there's around 450,000 people. So that's where the money is going, is for these devices specific for our target market. There's some other markets as well for people with injuries that this device could also be useful for, but that's a harder market to penetrate at first. So that's why we're targeting quadriplegic patients first, because assistive devices exist for these type of patients already. So it's easier to introduce a new innovative solution.
Okay, so that market is sort of technologies like you, not including wheelchairs and everything else.
It includes any assisted device. So our competitors such as sip and puff devices or head tilt systems, those type of devices that are add-on for wheelchairs is where the calculation comes from.
Okay. Okay, that's what I was...
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. I would encourage you, there's many stories of people doing eye-gazing technology and forgetting to properly test on women and having a gender bias in it. So please make sure you include that in your work. But anyway, great job.
We already have. Yeah, we already have.
Okay, fantastic. That's great. Perfect. So moving on to the next team, which is Team Mira. Well, Team Mira queues up. The question for folks for the comments while we go are, if you could only have a single app on your phone, which app would it be? And with that, over to Team Mira.
The hardest part of a disease is that I would get accustomed to the current state of my physical limitation, and then it would change. Most of my assisted devices end up collecting dust in the closet, said our customers during user interviews about living with MS, a degenerative autoimmune disease. According to Statistics Canada, we have the highest density of MS individuals as compared to any other nation, with 75% being women. Competitor and market analysis concluded that customers who try our competitor products often express interest to buy, but the main limiting factor is that most assisted devices cost upwards up to $50,000 and are deemed medically unnecessary by insurance companies. They also have a steep learning curve, cannot be adapted to their needs, lengthy repair times, and are not commercially accessible. Starting with the Canadian $6 billion market, we want to enable users to increase their independence, dignity, and functionality, rather than have them rely heavily on support system and other existing solutions that only offer one-size-fits-all product. Thus, Myra was born. offering a customizable modular robotic arm for users with limited functionality of upper extremities, allowing them to maintain their independence and adapt and conform to their disability and changing needs for less than $10,000. Our target users are cost-sensitive individuals who reside in larger Canadian cities and are seeking a short-term, medium performance solution whose buying process includes credible sources such as therapists, as well as personal research and recommendation through social media. The initial niche segment will consist of newly diagnosed patients or people going through a change in impairment. Our revenue model is twofold, with channel sales through occupational therapists, and the second will consist of web sales on a component-wise subscription model with the option to buy out. And this will work in conjunction with our direct-to-consumer marketing tactic to increase product awareness via support groups, influencers, and building product education for therapists and their clients. We have worked through design iterations with our end users in mind to continuously obtain their feedback and preliminary validation on the solution through user interviews and social sites. Most have expressed interest to test and buy the device as soon as possible. Within the next 6 months, a commercial MVP will be developed to verify our initial system and safety verification. We are also working with an external stakeholder who want to patent the utility in 3D printing gearbox. This fund will be used to obtain more reliable hardware and equipment for the MVP. After a beta test round by the end of the year, we are hoping to receive future funding to start looking into ramp manufacturing. My name is Nihengi, and this is my team. In summary, we hope to build Myra a system that isn't defined by installation point, level of disability, of impairment. It's as easy as pop, lock, and switch, an adaptive device for the most independent of people in the most unpredictable of times. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks so much. And apologies for mispronouncing it. Myra, not Mira. So Myra. So any questions for Myra? For Team Myra? Okay, Patricia, over to you.
Yes, I'm so sorry to ask too many questions, I think. But thank you for the presentation. That was nice. So I'm not clear how you actually plan to use this reconfigurability on with the to help the MS patients, because I see the fact that it's 3D printed, I see the fact that it's a pop and lock switch, but I'm not quite sure how you use this with the patients.
Yeah, definitely. So I can take that question. So MS is a degenerative autoimmune disease, specifically because they lose impairment and cognitive abilities as they move throughout the prognosis of the disease. Their disease is constantly changing, and a lot of times they try different solutions. And what ends up happening is that they just end up having to throw these away or use something else because now they have a new impairment that they have to deal with. So we wanted to really focus on the modularity aspect so that they could kind of change it and continuously build it so that they don't have to really get like the new learnability aspect, and they can like continue to use this device, and all they have to do is have like a full software upgrade and keep the equipment the same so that as their impairment is changing, so is the device itself, but they don't have to learn anything new, and they could constantly add on different aspects of it. More specifically, that's like with the end effector. We have talked to users and they've talked about how they want help with like cooking, picking up different things, gardening and things like that. So we can design it for those different applications without them requiring all of these different assistive devices.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Maybe just to follow up on that quickly, how does the patient interact or interface to your arm? Like how is that done? It wasn't clear to me how that, from your answer, how if I'm the patient, how am I controlling it?
Mm-hmm. So kind of like the assumptions with the target market that we're going for, we're assuming that these MS patients are those that have upper limb disabilities, as well as they're in wheelchairs, so it would actually connect to their wheelchair, and they will interface it with a joystick control, as well as we're looking into other controls like the previous pitch was talking about, such as like mouth and breath and voice and things like that. So that is how they will interface it with. But because it is modular, we're also working on different installations for the base so that it could also transition into a wearable device. So it's not only confined to those people that are in wheelchairs. So that is how they will interface with it.
Okay. Any question for Ivan?
Yeah, Ivan, any question to jump in there with?
No, just maybe a quick comment. I really like the interchangeability idea. I think that's really original.
Yeah, thank you. I think that was like the main thing because we really want to make it as adaptable to the users as much as possible. And that's like kind of like the main feedback that we got from all the interviews and the occupational therapists and secondary and primary users that we've been working with throughout the development phases.
That's fantastic. Perfect. Well, thanks so much and great job. All right, moving on to Team 7. So we have 6 teams that have presented. We have 4 to go. So now we have Team 7, which is UW Tensile. And so it's great to see the answers on the app questions. I don't think anyone put email. There's so it really shows you the changing times of what the phone is actually, and it's not, no one put phone. So no phone, no mail, it was all different things. It was really fascinating. So, but over to UW Tensile, and the question for you is, what invention do you wish existed? Thanks. Over to UW Tensile.
Hi, we're UW Tensile, and we're here to help restaurants comply with single-use plastic bans without having to fork over a ton of extra money. By 2025, the global single-use cutlery market is expected to reach $3 billion USD, and for a long time, this market has been dominated by plastics. However, due to concerns of climate change, single-use plastics will be phased out in 2021 through North American and European plastic bans. Due to COVID, restaurants have noted that there's been no real decrease in single-use cutlery usage, even though consumers are at home. Restaurants and customers alike rely on single-use cutlery for convenience, accessibility, and hygienic purposes. Alternatives such as wood and pure bioplastic options tend to be far too expensive. Our solution will allow restaurants to meet the new mandates without having to front this large difference in cost. To gauge market interest, we've contacted a number of local restaurants. Those which use biodegradable cutlery already are always looking for cheaper options, and those who don't will be forced to transition to the more expensive alternatives because of the ban. By the end of 2021, restaurants will have to use biodegradable cutlery, and they'll be looking for the cheapest option. To capture a portion of this growing market, we've created a cheap and environmentally friendly option, cutlery made of PLA and wood sawdust. Polylactic acid, or PLA, is a bioplastic derived from corn, making it 100% biodegradable, but on its own, it's very expensive. Wood sawdust is a byproduct of wood processing operations, making it very cheap, but lacking in structural integrity. So far, we've developed a novel biofabrication process to blend these two materials together. We've established proof of concept through creation of a functional prototype, and we've optimized our material's mechanical properties to compete with traditional plastic. We estimate a conservative cost of $9 per 1,000 utensils, which is comparable to traditional plastics and far cheaper than our competitors. Ultimately, what will set us apart is the fact that our product is simply cheaper. Our next steps will include compostability tests and applying for approval from the CFIA and Health Canada. After that, we'll be patenting our final product formulation. In terms of commercialization, our first customers will be local restaurants. Of the ones that we've contacted, most are willing to switch to new suppliers, so long as they're promised cheaper costs. We can also allow for incentives such as free samples to get the first new customers. Once we establish a loyal customer base, we can expand into big box retailers such as Costco and Walmart. Our team consists of chemical engineering students with experience in materials, manufacturing, and research and development. And our advisor has over 10 years of experience working with green polymers. UW Tensile strives to create a product that is stronger, cheaper, and a better option for restaurants. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Team UW Tensile. So moving over to the judges. A good ChemEng one, as a ChemEng myself. So.
Maybe I'll start things off. Great, thanks for the presentation. Are you planning to manufacture these yourselves or licensing it to manufacturers?
Great question. So right now we've been making them in lab. In terms of mass manufacturing them, our method for making them should be compatible with the way that current plastic cutlery is made. So we're trying to show off the familiarity of production edge in order to get companies within Canada or wherever they're made to produce these because it's similar machinery that they need. Other than that, we've explored creating prototypes and more mass manufacturing in Shenzhen, China, which is a popular place for prototypes to be created.
Okay, so you are looking at manufacturing these directly and then selling these directly as well as licensing, it sounds like?
Yes, yeah, we have two different kind of versions. One of them is where we've created a prototype that was shown before. And the other place that we kind of end our process is creating the wood PLA pellets, kind of just like polyethylene pellets that you would see. And that can be injection molded into plastic cutlery, or I guess biodegradable alternative cutlery.
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Thanks. Over to Patricia.
Yeah, so I like the play of words at the beginning of your video, by the way. So this is a very good idea. However, I'm a little bit concerned on the PLA really being considered biodegradable. I understand that you have gotten 80% or something like that of wood compared to PLA, but wouldn't this still require very special, sophisticated machines in order to really make it a compost, and it would have to be picked up from the recycling bins because it's still plastic, and PLA is 80 years to decompose, right?
Yeah, so great question. Right now, we are our next step is to conduct a compostability test to verify whether or not we can claim that we're compostable. At this point, we do know our product is biodegradable, but as you said, there are different levels of biodegradability. And so the way our product works right now is that it could quite literally have to go through industrial composting or industrial biodegradation. But the other part of it is because there's so much wood in it, it's very different from traditional plastic where you have a block of plastic is going to take a lot more time compared to
it will be easier.
PLA. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Great.
One quick question. Is all sawdust equal, or do you have to have a certain kind of sawdust?
So right now I believe we've made our thing using maple sawdust and aspen sawdust. I think right now our process has focused on lumber that's from Canada specifically, because that's been our source. So I wouldn't be able to speak to how functional the other sawdust would be, but given that there's a significant amount of PLA, the structural properties seem to reflect that of PLA.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much. So with that, we'll wrap up and we'll move on unless anyone has a really strong pressing question. Nope. Okay, great. Thank you. So moving on to team 8, which is Sterilis. Hopefully I got the pronunciation right. Welcome, team 8.
%88 of people already believe that public touch interfaces are unhygienic. You can imagine that that number has only gone up since the pandemic, with the added threat of COVID-19 spreading through unclean surfaces. To keep customers safe, retailers frequently clean their counters. But the resulting increase in shopper wait times is projected to cost retailers $4.5 billion annually. Moreover, for a large retailer like Walmart, sanitization costs are upwards of $3 million. Things could be a lot simpler. With Sterilis, a cleaner self-checkout experience. Our vision with this device is to provide users with a tool to hygienically interact with self-service counters using a stylus. The user simply releases the stylus when they're finished, and it is then sterilized using strong UV radiation. The device is affordable to deploy and maintain for businesses, and safe and intuitive for customers. Current solutions like wipes or even antimicrobial film are disposable and require employee intervention. Sterilis's main selling point is that it's a relatively inexpensive, permanent fix to a problem that only has temporary solutions right now. The novelty lies in its fully integrated, cost-effective design and patentable stylus dispensing and recollection mechanism. In addition, the hardware package is complemented by smart automation software that leads to a seamless user experience. The target early adopters will be hygiene-sensitive small businesses, such as clinics, who will purchase Sterilis directly from us. They are less risk-averse than large retailers, which gives us a lower barrier to entry. We have already started testing with small businesses to better understand their needs and validate our value proposition. Eventually, we will target large retail stores because they have the volume to provide us with a steady revenue stream. When we do go to market, we will reach out to early customers via website, phone, and online marketplaces. To reduce their risk, we provide a free trial period to help them integrate the product. To sell to large retailers, we will partner with established vendors through revenue sharing deals. We will then assist these vendors in developing service subscription and product leasing options. If Sterilis accompanied each self-checkout unit projected to be sold this year, we would have a total available market of $200 million across North America and the EU. If each retailer with self-checkout stations in Ontario purchased Sterilus, our serviceable obtainable market would be $1 million. Leading this endeavor is a team with industry experience that spans the fields of product management, mechatronics engineering, and lab research. Furthermore, some of our prior work has dealt directly with UV technology. Currently, our proof of concept validates physical functionality. Next, we need to validate sterilization using biolab testing with UV lights and file a provisional patent for our dispensing technology. Afterwards, we'd seek out manufacturers to create batches of our product that we can use to beta test. Until then, we dream of a future with a Sterilus next to every self-service kiosk. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for that. I really feel like Doug will love the SOM, SAM, TAM slide. I feel like I remember him hammering that into my head over a decade ago. So anyway, with that, over to the judges. Who has the first question?
I have a quick question. So for the styluses, if you have any idea what the lifetime of one of those is, they can't last forever. How many uses do you think that would go through?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So in terms of the actual lifetime, that would vary depending on the material that we choose for the stylus. What we're aiming for is PETG, which actually has a pretty high, it's a really strong plastic. So even though I don't have the exact number of use cases right now, it would be an extremely long time. To actually alleviate that, that's the problem with that. Well, that's why we plan on actually having a subscription model for the stylus. That way, larger retailers that are expected to use this for a long period of time, they can just subscribe to having updates. So if a stylus breaks down, they can get a new stylus from us. And because we're also going to be helping them with servicing the product, it'll make sure that that risk is not something they're taking up. It's something that we will take up.
Okay. And is it relatively straightforward for the end user to replace them?
Yes. So the way that it's been mechanically designed, you would just take off the top cap of the stylus and then replace it with the replacement stylus.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Doug. Over to Patricia.
Yeah, so very innovative, by the way, timely, relevant, and with lots of commercial potential. Have you thought about a lower version of that could probably just carry pencils? And, because not everybody is going to need a sophisticated stylus with a computer on the side.
Yeah, so with the business, with the market that we're trying to sell to, it's really aimed not for an individual user, but it's aimed for retailers that do have that large volume of customers who they don't, even though you don't need the stylus to be technologically advanced, is that what the system provides is just a really clean way for the retailers to make it safer for their customers to interact with. So with the idea that you mentioned, it would be cool to have a stylus that works in general for a single person, but really making that safe, especially when dealing with UV exposure, because that can be dangerous. So having a single person buy that is not really part of our model right now.
Okay, interesting. Because a doctor will probably be somebody that would benefit from this, right? Just saying.
Oh yes. So what I meant by a single person was a normal person like you and me who would have a device like walk
that's
around.
not what I meant. I meant like a doctor, right?
Yes, for sure. So in our
this pencil, fill up your stuff, right? It's not a stylus; it's a pencil, right? So.
I see. Yes. Okay. That makes
ideas.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have time for more questions.
Yeah,
really great idea. I really like this. You mentioned in your timeline that the next step is to test the sterilization. I'm just curious, have you tested the concept or maybe a prototype with end users? That is, do you foresee any hesitancy from end users in figuring out how to use the device, trusting that it's sterile, things like that? Because what you're doing is something that's novel, that they've never seen before.
So Oh yeah, Udesha, yeah, why don't you take this?
Yeah. So currently we have an analytical estimate based on UVC dosage requirements based on current research. But yes, the next phase is to get it certified, lab certified, so that we can achieve 99.9% coronavirus inactivation. And that would also help users, like we would definitely be advertising that, and users will know that it is safe to use. And Joe, do you have anything to that?
Yes. So in terms of from a real user perspective, so what we could help with, especially with large retailers, is actually giving them a splash screen that they can have on the front of their checkout terminal that actually just points to the device and like, hey, why don't you try using this, right? And that sort of cue that customers can use to actually just realize what this is, and just they're prompted to go ahead and use it. And especially because it's a stylus, and that's something that's common in our day-to-day lives, people should be able to just easily pick it out of the stylus and use it to navigate on the screen. So working with our retail partners, this would be something that we can help customers, just integrate easier with the product.
The idea was to have versatility so that we could use it on touch screens and like the physical buttons on the pin pad that you would use for credit card transactions. So stylus would be best suited for those needs.
Perfect, great. Well, thank you. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks a lot, Team Stairless. Great job. So moving on to Team 9. So again, there was 50, actually not again, I haven't told you. There was over 50 teams that applied, and you're only seeing the top 10. So there was a lot of pairing even getting down to this 10. So there's only 2 left. So with that, we'll go over to Team Yada. And the question for folks while Team Yada does their presentation is, who is an entrepreneur that you really admire? Again, please throw that in the comments. Over to Team Yada.
Imagine at work, you're tasked with writing a proposal and preparing a presentation for a new project. How would you go about this? Ideally, you'll start by brainstorming some ideas, then formalizing them into a written proposal, and finally copying parts of that document into a slideshow. Now, what if your manager changes the requirements of the project and also asks you to write a summary and an FAQ to share with key stakeholders? Now, you need to go back and update your document, then update the presentation, and finally create your supplemental documents. As a result, this creates a lot of duplicated content. Now, any future changes to your original report need to be reflected in all your supplemental documents. This is a very tedious process that happens often because there are no tools to support this flow. Now, we're introducing Yada. Yada is a smart document editing software that ensures that you will never have to rewrite anything ever again. With Yada, all your content lives in a main document. And then, with an intuitive interface, you can easily construct flashcards, text documents, and even presentations. Now, any updates to your original document are automatically reflected in all your related documents at the same time, and this ensures that everything is kept up to date. According to recent reports, the market for document management software is expected to reach $11.5 billion by 2026. This gives us a lot of competitors in the space, such as Dropbox Paper, Notion, and Google Docs. However, we believe Yada's unique content management system clearly sets it apart from the rest. Our revenue model is split into 2 tiers, a freemium model for personal use and a set of enterprise plans for corporate use. We believe that the freemium model will lead to a large adoption in the public, which will propel the use of Yada in corporate environments. Enterprises often use multiple tools, such as Google Docs and Microsoft Office, that have overlapping feature sets, because each may prove useful in a specific area. We're confident that Yada will bring more than enough value to any company that wants to add it into their arsenal, and will seamlessly integrate with all their other tools. Following adoption, and with new features, we believe Yada has the potential to become an all-in-one tool that every team needs. Our free beta version of Yada was launched to public on February 18th, and since then, we have attained over 380 users who have created 950 documents and over 1,900 views. We were also featured on top 5 products of the day on Product Hunt. After release, we have received a lot of positive feedback from our users. With further marketing and release of new features, we're on track to get over 750 users by the end of the term. Try out Yada today at yada.dev and discover a new way to work with your documents. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Team Yada. Moving over to the Q&A. Do any of the judges immediately want to jump in and grab the first question? I think this would be a great venue to share stories. I feel like Yada would be great for that.
Yeah, really slick presentation. I like the animation and the visuals. You mentioned, like, it seems like you're focusing mostly on business materials and presentations. Just wondering if through the beta stage, if you've seen other uses that people have used Yada for that perhaps you hadn't considered.
Yeah, I think I can take that question. So yeah, we've actually conducted a bit of user, like we've been collecting feedback from a bunch of them, and we've learned that actually one of our TAs is using it for their research. So that was one interesting use case where they were dumping their content there, and they were able to extract just the useful bits using our view generation. Another use case is for studying as well. So for students, when you create a bunch of your notes, you may want to tag certain things as questions and answers, so then you can convert that into flashcards. And so that's another use case. So I believe like the way that we built Yada, we've definitely seen people use it for different things. And I think that's one of the advantages of our product compared to the other competitors in terms of its flexibility and powerfulness.
Perfect. Thanks. And Patricia, apologies. I think you had a question there.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this is integratable with other software, like say, I hope Microsoft Office or any other like that. And how would that happen?
Right. Yeah, I can speak to that a bit. Obviously, those documents live in separate worlds, but I think one thing that's in our pipeline is some importing and exporting features that will allow you to easily manage the content within our app and maybe transfer that to like a Microsoft document if needed. But I guess the main idea is that we want to be an all-in-one place where most of your docs and views can live, and you can share those files with collaborators or stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. Just quick, did you base this idea maybe a little bit out of LaTeX?
So I guess there's similar themes. Like part of the inspiration or motivation comes from like some software engineering or principles of like reducing duplication of code, and in our case it's more like duplication of content. And I think in LaTeX there's macros that can do similar things. So
obviously very much user friendly, right? So yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect. As a LaTeX user, I agree. User friendly, not just strict. So, Jeff, any last questions before we close up?
I'm good.
Perfect. So with that, thanks a lot, Team Yada. We'll move on, and we have one team left. There were some really interesting answers to people's favorite entrepreneurs. Looks like Musk and Gates were the top two, but it was great to see Eugenie Brazier in there. It was really awesome answers. So with that, we will go to team number 10, the last team. Bless your soul.
We are the Bless Your Soul group. Welcome to our Norman Esch final pitch.
Oftentimes, we take the ability to walk for granted because it's something we never really think twice about. We firmly believe in the freedom of mobility for all, no matter one's condition. The average cost placed on an individual with a spinal cord injury over their lifetimes is over $2 million. Most exoskeletons cost over $50,000 and do not specifically target the ankle joint. The current solution for SCI patients is to use a wheelchair and partake in assisted living as shown on screen.
The Bless Your Soul group presents our solution, the Lockstep.
The Lockstep is an ankle exoskeleton powered by an onboard linear actuator system. 2 stages of the prototype were built and tested while providing promising results. The linear actuator provides the necessary torque during the push-off phase of the gait cycle, while the passive spring system allows ankle roll movement while pulling the foot back into a neutral position. From our testing, we've concluded that there's a 46.5% overall ankle torque reduction and an 11% less peak muscle engagement during the push-off phase, resulting in reduced risk for injury.
We received first-hand customer feedback from 5 people who identify with restricted mobility through social media. We were given overall positive initial feedback. We also performed industry research, and we found that similar devices have found lots of success in this industry. Through our user research, we developed 2 personas. The first being a spinal cord injury patient who will use this device. The second being a healthcare provider who will recommend this device to future patients. These 2 user personas help develop a strong sense of empathy between the design team and the users. Our costing analysis resulted in a final price of $2,600, which is less than the gold standard of a powered wheelchair. This is 20 times less expensive than our closest competitor, and our market analysis shows a total yearly revenue of $4.7 million. Finally, our marketing strategy starts with doing live demonstrations at hospitals, PT clinics, and trade shows to develop product strength. We also want to build strong relationships with healthcare providers so that we can gain referrals for our product. Finally, our network will be supplemented by a substantial online presence through website and social media. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We are the Bless Your Soul group, and we believe in the freedom of mobility for all.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Bless Your Soul. So moving over to the judges, who would like to jump in first? Brother Jack, yeah, maybe top of mind.
Okay, I'll go again.
Okay, Trisha, all you.
So, why do you pick the ankle? You know, is this just for ankle problems, or you know, you can use in combination with something?
Yeah, I think I can take that one. So, the use case that we found from our faculty advisor was a need for an ankle exoskeleton for incomplete spinal cord injury patients. So, Professor Arami had existing exoskeletons that target more proximal joints, such as the hip and the knee. But there was a need for more distal joints that would be affected by incomplete spinal cord injury patients. So that was the initial use case, was to develop an assistive robotic technology for incomplete spinal cord injury patients. And it could work as a standalone product or alongside existing exoskeletons.
I see. Interesting. Okay, thanks.
I think you mentioned that there is a similar product that's tackling this problem as well, or at least there appears to be. So what differentiates your product from theirs?
So our product aims to be more of a consumer-oriented exoskeleton, whereas the current exoskeletons in this market are more research-oriented. So they're more one-off designs that are made specifically for one user in a testing and lab environment, whereas we aim to take that technology and put it in the hands of as many people as we can.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
Because how will you achieve the reconfigurability, though, right? Because we don't have, in order to just do it without customization, it would have really to be reconfigurable.
Yeah, we've prioritized design that's easily manufacturable for our prototypes. So we figured that there are 2 main elements that would have to be configurable for different user profiles. So we have a rapidly 3D printed foot sole that could fit a variety of user feet sizes, and our knee strap is also configurable. So the actual products elements that would have to be changed for different users is really reduced to 3 elements. So that would allow us to quickly scale for a variety of user profiles.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, perfect.
That was a question that came to mind for me, so I can't ask that one. But move over. Any last questions from Ivan, Doug, or Patricia?
No? All right, perfect. Thanks a lot, team. Bless your soul.
Thank you, everybody.
Those really were fantastic. They were really broad. It was really great to see the whole spread. They really were, a great show of engineering excellence. I really wish we were there and we were all together in person. Obviously, we can't be and we shouldn't be. But it was great even in the chat, in the comments, to see people doing cheers. I'd love to be all in person to do cheers. I won't do it just with me because it'll be very awkward. But still, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, teams. I know the judges are going to have a very difficult time picking which 6 will take the prizes. So with that, we do need to take a few minutes to break while the judges deliberate. And while that's happening, it's time for the people's choice voting. Sorry, people's choice voting, and for people to win the Xbox. So with the people's choice, let's just quickly go through the 10 teams again, just to make sure everyone keeps those in mind. So we've got Canadian Ibex, we've got Scribenote, we've got optimization of hyaluronic acid, or Hylact, as it's much easier to say. We've got Thunderscope, we have iMove Technologies. Those are the first 5. The second 5, we have Myra, we have UW Tensile, we have Sterilis, we have Yada, and we have Bless Your Soul. So those are the 10. So a little bit on logistics here for a second. Just got to get to the right spot here on the logistics. Okay. So in the comments, we will post a link to the People's Choice voting and the code to a Kahoot trivia game. If you'd like to participate, please go to kahoot.it on your device. Fortunately, a lot of you chose Chrome as your favorite app, and enter the game code on the screen. Then you'll be prompted to enter your email and a nickname of your choice. Please keep the nickname classy, as this broadcast is rated E for everyone. The People's Choice will run for about 3 minutes, so it's quick, 3 minutes only, and then we'll start the Kahoot. Please note that there's about a 10-second delay between our virtual studio and YouTube, so your device will be slightly off time with what you see in Kahoot and what you see on the YouTube screen. The question and answers will appear on your device, so our feed will be more for people who aren't playing to follow along. I will see you after the break, but we also have a quick message from a special guest while you're voting.
Hey, it's Alexis Ohanian, and this is a hype video. You wanted to send a little message to all the fourth-year students working on your capstone projects. So you're going to be commercializing your idea, and this is some guidance or some support, maybe a little pep talk, I don't know, that'll help you feel good as you get ready for this Waterloo Engineering Esch pitch competition. Big fan of Waterloo, there in Waterloo, Kitchener. It's been a while since I've been back there, obviously COVID and everything, but it's a special place, lots of talent. Y'all are clearly really skilled technical minds. That's how you got there. And I'm sure you're gonna do fine. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I actually think you should watch one of I did a Small Empires episode profiling the startup community there, Vidyard, as well as the university, and for the work study program, and all the great firsthand experience that y'all get makes you so formidable, not just as startup founders, but also just working at startups. Big fan of graduates from Waterloo. So you're great. What can I say? No matter what, you're gonna be fine. Well, that's not that helpful, I guess. COVID accelerated tech adoption. We knew this was happening. It's been happening the last 15 years. Software has become a bigger and bigger part of every industry. COVID jumped it ahead. What would have taken a few years of tech adoption happened in a few months during the pandemic and the shutdown. And now every industry realizes they got to have software. They got to have a lot of it. And if they can't build it, they got to buy it or pay for it. So that's where y'all come in. Build a great startup. Start there at university. Keep growing, keep focusing on solving problems for people, ideally with big markets, and making something that they love. Building great product has never been more important, especially now as community has just become such a fundamental part of having success. And the only way you build a community is by building something really exceptional that your users love, and then nurturing that love and that fan base. So good luck. You're going to be fine. You're Waterloo engineers. You can handle it. So all the best. And thanks again.
All right. With that, we are back. I feel with that question, I should take off. I'd like to say this is a blazer. This is not a suit. So, I don't think that really counts. But anyway, the judges have deliberated and the votes are in. Before I announce the winners, I want to take a moment to thank the staff from the Conrad Center who spent months working over the 50 applicant teams to improve their products and their pitches and help narrow it down to the 10 that you saw today. They really were awesome, those teams, and thank you so much for everyone that helped. Specific thank yous to Esteban Ventimilla, David Rose, Doug Sparks, and Wayne Chang for your time, wisdom, and guidance. And thanks again so much to the Esch Foundation. We couldn't do this without the support. This really is a fantastic event. I think it's so amazing that Waterloo does this with Esch Foundation support. And it was so fantastic to see in the comments people from different teams that were pitching today congratulating the other teams. It really is, that's part and parcel for what it is being part of the U Waterloo community. We work hard, we can compete, but we really support each other wherever we can. So with that, without any further ado, I'd like to announce the winners. So the very first winner, and it'll be quiet, but hopefully you're pounding on your desk there because you're so excited. The first team to win $10,000 in funding is Canadian Ibex. Congratulations, guys. That is great. Congratulations for you. I wish we could hear the round of applause and people on the bleachers yelling in E7, but I'm sure everyone's doing it at home and you're just hearing me. So with that, we will move on to winner number 2. The second team to win $10,000 and just pretend like you're being handed a comedically large check is, round of applause, iMove Technologies. Nice work, team iMove. That's great. So that is $20,000 we've given out in about 30 seconds. Congratulations, iMove. Hopefully they're jumping, they're cheering, they're jumping around their rooms. The third team to win $10,000 is UW Tensile. Great job, team. Congratulations. I'm excited for you to diversify to other wood feedstock. That is really exciting. Congratulations. That is $30,000 given. There is $30,000 more to go. The fourth team to win $10,000 is, round of applause, Sterilis. Congratulations, Sterilis. You just got $10,000 more worth of funding to help make sure that people are safe and COVID helps go away as fast as possible. We have 2 left. $10,000 will be going to the 5th team that won the competition. And the 5th team to win $10,000 of funding is, drumroll, Yada. Congratulations, Yada. That is great. So that's $50,000 we have given out in the last 2 minutes. And there's $10,000 left. There's 1 more team to win. Again, if you didn't win, you did a fantastic job. Please stick with your idea. I'm so excited by everything that we saw today. But now the 6th and final team to win $10,000 in funding is, drumroll, Bless Your Soul. Congratulations, Bless Your Soul. Really exciting what you guys are working on to make sure that people can have a cost-effective exoskeleton to be able to repair their ankles. That was fantastic. So with that, we aren't done. There's the Sedra People's Choice Award, and the winner of the Sedra People's Choice Award, as voted by you, is Bless Your Soul. Congratulations, Bless Your Soul. So you are actually getting $13,000, 10 from the Esch Foundation and 3 also, I believe, from the Esch Foundation, but through the Sedra People's Choice Award. So that is fantastic. Congratulations, everyone. Congratulations to your hard work. I'm super excited for you to bring your products to reality. This has truly been a wonderful afternoon, and I wish all the teams that presented this afternoon the very best in the next steps you have planned for your projects. It won't be easy, but keep with it. You will make massive change in the world. Just a reminder that if you are interested in entering your capstone project for next year's Norman Esch Pitch Competition, please check out the engineering website under entrepreneurship. Thank you. Thank you, friends, family, and supporters for watching. I hope you continue to stay safe. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.